give us a sense of birth. The same way that a baby is immersed in a watery world and comes out clean and unclothed and fresh. I think the point is that the mikveh teaches us something about the rhythms of life.
There's a lot more to the mikveh than just a physical immersion, but it's a rejuvenation that's taking place and a renewal.
It's just like really quiet in there and no one says anything, and you could stand there for hours if you wanted to. And just a real spiritual time.
I do feel at that moment that it's important for the continuity of the Jewish people.
Water is the remarkable building block upon which all of life is built. It sustains every living thing and shapes the world as we know it. Certain waters contain a hidden spiritual force that is so powerful, the Bible says it can realign, fortify, and elevate the essence of the human being who immerses in it. For more than 3,000 years, Jews have collected this special water and sheltered it in a special pool called the mikveh. Much of today's demand for modern mikvahs has been created by people who, up until a few years ago, were unaware of what the mikveh was all about. Few understood how the practice known as family purity, which centers around the natural biological cycles and the mikveh itself, could bring a new dimension to marriage, a couple's sex life, and even personal connections to spirituality in the 20th century. Even fewer understood the celestial concepts behind the mikveh. The Torah identifies immersion in the mikveh as a God-given commandment of the highest order. It's a law which is not limited to rational understanding. It addresses the soul, the subconscious, and the powerful inner dimensions of the human. The bottom line is that above all else, the mikveh is a spiritual institution. Experts on the American and world Jewish community say more and more young married couples are trying the mikveh for the first time and coming back for more. In addition to immersing in the water, this means they abstain from having a physical relationship with their spouse for about 2 weeks out of the month. Here's how the structure found in the laws of the mikveh works. According to the great mystics, a woman totally in tune with her natural cycles is a woman who understands the secrets of her own spirituality. Her monthly cycle is divided into 2 parts. Unknown to most people, the menstrual cycle itself determines the planning of a visit to the mikveh. The timing involved has a direct effect on the couple's relationship. Once menstruation has started, an interval of approximately 2 weeks begins. It lasts for the duration of the period, and after the flow has stopped, extends for 7 additional days. During this interval, husband and wife do not engage in sexual intimacy. This 2-week span ushers in a unique time where personal space is created for both partners. At first, many people find this concept to be very extreme, even though most say they understand the need for abstaining from sex while a woman is menstruating. Interestingly, the separation is said to bring out the best in both partners. Couples practicing mikveh, for example, have a stunningly low divorce rate, under 2%, according to a Brandeis University study. This compares to higher than 50% for the average Jewish couple.
Not touching brings a new dimension to the relationship. Not touching is, it makes you have to communicate verbally in a different way. You have to develop these skills. And it's not like everything will be okay by a touch on the hand or a kiss on the cheek. If something's going on, you have to deal with it in another way, by talking.
The benefits are so profound. I mean, from a purely physical perspective. Imagine for a 2-week period, there's very little. I should say there is no, it's non-existent physical interaction between husband and wife. And then after the mikveh process, after the woman has immersed in the mikveh, they can physically interact, and then there's magic in the relationship.
There are so many young women today who are looking forward to having a system within Jewishness that gives them a relationship with their husbands that they've always looked for. They always wanted to have a relationship where it wouldn't just be a sexual relationship, it wouldn't just be a physical relationship. And here, within the confines of their own system, of their own way of life, of Jewishness, it offers it to them in a very manageable way. 2 weeks a month, you have to relate on another level. And the whole act takes on a different perspective.
Rabbis say the 3,000-year-old mikveh system for Jewish marriage is enjoying a resurgence for a simple reason. It works. With so many women going, many for the first time, the obvious question becomes why. One answer is that in this generation where divorce extramarital affairs and family problems are so commonplace, the mikveh has actually been found to keep couples happily together. Another benefit, according to Jewish law, is that the process itself helps elevate the spirituality of the woman, preparing her to receive the soul of a child.
You have women from every walk of Jewish life. You have women who come in jeans or in the summer in shorts. It's not only women who dress the way a traditional Jewish woman is expected, so to speak, to dress. You find certainly women who are in the top professions.
Many marriages go stale, and they go stale fast. It no longer takes 10 years for a husband or a wife to say, I'm bored with my partner. I hear it all the time. When a couple cannot have any of that physical interaction for 2 weeks and do this because there's a higher order in this universe that says that this is the right way to live, then again, if they have spent those 2 weeks in a quality manner, they're going to have a very good relationship.
The reason for the couple's temporary separation is not based on personal hygiene or the following of ancient customs. It is important to point out that the mikveh was not established to cleanse a woman after menstruation. This is a misconception. Any woman who practices mikveh knows this.
It's somewhat of a semantic tragedy that we've associated mikveh with cleanliness, and therefore, since we have modern plumbing, it follows logically, why do we need a mikveh? But it's all based upon a mistake. And the real reason for mikveh is far beyond that of cleanliness. As a matter of fact, according to halacha, according to Jewish law, a person who uses a mikveh must clean himself or herself thoroughly before going into the mikveh, so that the mikveh has nothing to do with cleanliness, except requiring it in advance.
While one can never be sure of exactly why the Torah advocates certain commandments such as mikveh, we can be sure that it must relate to one's spiritual well-being. Keeping this in mind, one of the best explanations for the separation is shown here through this extraordinary film footage captured with a tiny camera inserted into the woman's body. It shows that during menstruation, a woman passes the remnants of an unfertilized egg. According to Jewish belief, and even modern science for that matter, a death of sorts has taken place within the woman's body. Since she loses an unfertilized ovum, it is this loss of potential life, this whisper of death, that confers upon her a state of spiritual impurity that lasts during menstruation and for 7 days thereafter.
There are so many hormonal changes that are taking place when a woman is involved in her menstruation. She needs that time. She needs to be a little bit separated from her husband physically. They can be together in the most intimate manner, but it's not a physical relationship.
It gives you your space. It gives you grow together. There's so much more quality time. And that's all I really could say is that if you want to study about it, if you want to learn about it, if you feel very comfortable with it, if you don't, you should try, because it really, really helps a marriage.
It's time for me and myself, and it's a break that I can have for myself, where I can recharge my batteries in all aspects.
Those who practice mikveh say there are many other advantages to separating as well. It can enhance communication, gives each partner a greater sense of personal space, reduces stress and feelings of rejection, and cuts down on the occasional tendency to view a partner as a sex object. Additionally, it can promote eye-opening discussions which lead to a better awareness of each partner's feelings, needs, and desires, and it encourages beneficial adjustments in the marriage.
There are so many young people that are come to me for counseling and come to many rabbis, and one of the issues that they don't seem to be able to communicate with each other. And whenever they have some difficulty, the answer and the panacea to it all is they jump into a common bed and, so to speak, they wipe away the pain of the moment, but they haven't dealt with the issue. For approximately a 12-day to 2-week period, the husband and the wife are forced to interact with each other besides physical connection. They must talk to each other, they must understand each other, they must think about each other, they must feel each other without physically touching each other, so that it uncovers another level of dynamic power that exists within each and every one of them. And that enhances the relationship in a very, very wonderful way.
The family today is in danger. It's a common knowledge. Family values and the value of the family are diminishing in general American life. in the Western world, even more so, not only America. And we are in danger in the Jewish community that which has always elevated us and been our mark of distinction, namely the closeness of family life and the values of family life, these are under attack today. With the institution of mikveh, it makes it possible, as has been said, for marriage to be a repetition of a honeymoon experience every month.
That monthly honeymoon takes place at the beginning of the other half of the woman's cycle. Now that the woman has finished menstruation and gone through the 7 additional days, she prepares to go to the mikveh that evening, clearly marking the start of this other half of the monthly ritual.
On the night of the mikveh, however, that's a very special night. The husband treats the wife as if she was absolutely a bride. It's customary to bring flowers home, to take their wife out to dinner, to take a walk. I mean, it's a night where it's dedicated to being intimate. Now, where in America, after 20 years of marriage, after 15 years of marriage, do you regularly take and dedicate a whole evening just for intimacy? The entire family, his whole attitude is uplifted. He starts to feel differently. He starts to look at life differently, starts to behave differently. And even where the human being takes all his shackles off, so to speak, he undresses himself entirely from his armor and is able to express himself most freely, which is in the intimacy of the sexual act primarily. There as well, there is a focus, there's a purpose. It's not an inhibition, but at the same time, it's enclosed with a certain sanctity that is important.
While the average mikveh is a sophisticated indoor spa for rainwater, the immersion procedure itself has been described as one of the most mystical traditions in all of Judaism, an escape to another dimension. Beneath the surface, the high-voltage chaos of society is suppressed. In quiet solitude, a person's contemplations know no bounds. Reflection, spiritual insight, prayer, attainment of even the loftiest spiritual goals seems possible.
When we use the mikveh, really we're affirming that life, like the natural waters, comes from God.
It's really like a new beginning. And you walk down and you feel warm and you feel cozy and you feel loved.
I find that time is very refreshing, very rewarding. I'm able to really deal with myself as a human being. I have time to explore what my needs are, and it gives me a rejuvenation so that when I am together with my husband, I'm there as an independent human being.
A Jewish woman goes to the mikveh for the first time as a bride, a day or two before her wedding. Thereafter, she will go each month to spiritually prepare for conceiving a child. Once pregnant, she won't visit the mikveh again until after her baby is born.
You know, when you keep the laws of the mikveh, you want to create something, and it's not just like being with your husband for the fun of it.
He pairs us fundamentally to a relationship that brings together, that fuses the body and the soul.
I definitely think it's important for a marriage, and for myself, I get a lot out of it spiritually for myself. I leave the mikveh and I feel like I'm on a cloud. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm wearing no makeup and I look so pretty. I feel so pretty. It's probably the prettiest time I feel. And I see other women and I see the same look in their face, and it's just so natural.
Even older women who weren't religious during their childbearing years often visit the mikveh as part of their return to the faith. Marlene Levine is a Florida resident who became interested in her Jewishness later in life. At the age of 75, she visited the mikveh for the first time.
I felt renewed. I felt more energetic. I felt like I turned a new page, you know, and I felt like, like you get a chance to do something that you've missed, and it was a high. In a way, it was a real high. This was feeling high without anything but doing this wonderful mitzvah.
While most mikvahs use collected rain for convenience, all utilize water from a flowing source that has never been dormant. Any active body of water, such as a nearby river or stream, will do. This special water is actually kept separate from the immersion pool itself in an underground reservoir beneath the plunge bath. Through a small outlet, it always remains in contact with the sanitized, heated tap water used to fill the mikveh's main pool.
Today's mikvehs are very modern places. They don't at all resemble the old bathhouses of Eastern Europe.
In fact, many facilities, like this one in Passaic, New Jersey, has more features than a modern spa. Mikvahs are so central to Jewish life, they actually take precedence over the construction of a synagogue, according to Jewish law. Though a majority of Jews today have lost touch with this historical reality, every Jewish community once made the building and maintenance of mikvahs a priority. In religious communities, it's a tradition that is still passed down from generation to generation with special fondness, a sacred chain of continuity that has never been broken. In Russia, valiant women went to incredible extremes in order to carry on this venerable tradition. In fact, Jewish history is filled with the heroic struggles of those committed to preserving the time-honored biblical commandment of mikvah, an all-out effort that on a larger scale represents the eternal human struggle to preserve the continuity of religion itself.
I'm connecting myself to thousands of years of Jewish women going to the mikveh. When you go to Masad or you visit any of the holy places in Israel, Jews went to the mikveh in the line of fire. Women in Russia carved out ice in the rivers and went in freezing weather into a freezing body of water before they would have anything to do with their husband, before they had any intimacy. So it's a bond, and it's a connection, a very powerful one, with all the women of Jewish history.
2,000 years ago, the mountain fortress of Masada was the last Jewish stronghold to defy Roman conquest. During the bloody reign of the Roman Emperor Vespasian, it finally fell in the year 73 AD. Located on the western shore of the Dead Sea, about 70 kilometers from Jerusalem, a small contingent of Jews successfully defended their camp from Roman attack for a period of